Hello there, outliers. Niiamah and Shang here, and thank you so much for letting us be a part of your journey here today. We have an incredible roundtable set up for you with two awesome outliers. Let's bring them into the mix right now. Darrin, we're going to start with you. Why don't you let us know more about you and the game you're currently playing?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Dr. Darrin Peppard. I honestly identify as a recovering high school principal. I was in public education for nearly 30 years, and about 4 years ago, I left my superintendent position and just jumped right into really supporting leaders and leadership teams in all walks of life, both in the education space and outside of education, really helping leaders and teams be really clear, be really purposeful, really be intentional about the work that they do so that they can really walk in their purpose. And it's become just absolutely something that just feeds my passion and just continues to fan the flames that I have around leadership. So that's really, that's who I am.
Well, I'm glad that you're here. It seems like you've been able to bring that like career. I love when people are able to bridge their careers and elevate it to the next level. And that's what I think I'm hearing
Yeah.
from you. You found ways to continue expanding what you were doing and taking it to even
Yeah.
higher levels from there. Awesome. Glad to have you here, Darren. Ron, let's get to know you. Mind letting us know more about you and the game you're currently playing?
Yeah, absolutely. Ron Nussbaum. I'm a United States Marine Corps veteran. I spent 13 years in construction, doing everything from running the jackhammer to running the company and anything you can think in the middle of all of that. As well as I bought and sold a couple businesses. I am currently the founder of BuilderComs. We're a messaging platform built for the construction industry. So I moved into software now in my life. And the games I play, I've done a lot of things throughout my life so far. And I steal it from Hormozy because he says it the best is the only ones worth playing are infinite games. So I only stuff that matters. So business, stuff that has a long lifespan that you can continue to build and build and build. And there's really no end in mind. My relationship with my wife and my son, those are infinite games that never end. My health, that's the games I play now. Is I only play stuff that I can't necessarily put an end to. All I know is there's a lot of work that has to be done, and you have to show up every day.
I'm feeling like just the strong resonance as we come in here. Thank you both for bringing your experience over here to this table. And there's something here where you talk about just that element of the infinite game. I think that there's something I would like to start out with this because what I'm getting from both of you is like you're storied in your career. You've had excellence in your career and achieved success, and you keep finding ways to grow in your game, right? And so I'm curious for you, like. I think the biggest curiosity for me is like at this point in the game, like what do you find to be like a challenge worth pursuing to you? Like how do you like what are the things that like actually you're like, okay, I get that this is part of business. I get like there's stuff that I have to like figure out there, but this part actually is like where the challenge really lies for me. This is what's getting me excited. Darren, Ron, either one of you, one of you got to start it on that one.
Yeah, I'll jump in. This is Ron here. Why I do what I do now is because I dealt with the problem. And it became more about a mission. When I had the conversation with my wife, I had built this piece of software to solve my own problem. And I was like struggling with, do I just like, is this mine or could I actually be the one to take on a 30 plus billion-dollar problem in the construction industry of communication? Like, is Ron Nussbaum the person that could solve this problem once and for all? And I said yes. And I have become extremely passionate around this is bigger than a product. This is bigger than an exit. It's bigger than anything. I have an opportunity to actually solve a problem that we've spent 50, 60 years going in circles on that has never had a legit answer to how do we just fix this? And for me, that has become what I love to build. Like I'm building to fix something permanently for an entire industry. And that's what excites me. That's what makes all the hard worth it.
Yeah, so I love that. I love that, Ron. This is Darren again, and I'll say um, much of what Ron is saying is similar to what really drives and motivates me, but I think I would probably break it into three very specific categories. First and foremost is there's just this continuous curiosity that I have. Very similar to what Ron said with, how can I solve this or how can I be the one to solve the problem? I'm always looking at ways that I can provide support to others for things that maybe I struggled with at some point in my leadership career. I love the quote by Rory Vaden. It's one that I kind of live by, that we're all uniquely positioned to help the person we once were. And so I'm always curious about, what were some things that maybe I struggled with and what are some potential solutions that I can provide going forward. And I do that in a lot of different ways. I do that as a keynote speaker. I do that as an author. I mean, currently the next book that I'm working on is around leadership teams. How do you build and provide and really create quality outcomes focused leadership teams? So that curiosity piece for me is really, really big. The second one would be really just, I want to pay forward the support, the what people poured into me to help me develop and grow as a leader. I want to do that exact same thing for others. I think there's kind of a moral obligation in leadership that we grow other leaders. And so I did it in a formal capacity as a building principal, as a superintendent, growing the leaders within my district or within my school. Now I do it, with leaders in all walks of life, helping to grow them more as leaders. And the third one would be just simply to empower and ignite others. And I think that's where, especially from the stage or, doing leadership workshops, where I can help others, kind of see themselves as the hero of their own story, how they can see, hey, you know what, I can do this in leadership too. I don't have to be that person who's just running from fire to fire. I can actually lead my organization where I want them to go. So that's kind of, I think, what really drives me and motivates me to keep moving to what's next, what's next, what's next.
You know, there's
Leadership is an infinity game too. Most people think
100%.
like once you have it, you have it, but you can easily lose it. And if you're not consistently evolving, you're moving backwards. I think people lose sight of that. And this is Ron, by the way, just jumping in here. But leadership is an infinity game that you can play.
Yeah, yeah, Darren again. Ron, could not agree with you more. And actually, when you were talking about those infinite games in your initial introduction, that was kind of some of the things that were playing in my head. Not specific on leadership, so I love that you kind of quantified that, but definitely, definitely a true statement, man. I love that.
Yeah, it's one I used to play a lot more than I play now. But I realize that. And like it's not limited to specific things. It's whatever doesn't have a destination in your life that you're going. That is an infinite game, is something that there is real no end to. You just constantly get better at it. And that's why leadership falls in that realm. But a lot of people think you can max out on leadership, and that couldn't be any farther from the truth. I saw it all the time in the Marine Corps. Like some leaders were just great because they were great leaders and they kept developing, and some leaders just had rank. And that's when you start to realize that this is an infinite game that you're playing. It has no end. You just have to continue showing up every day.
I think so. I want to build on that. I love that so much, Ron. And I think again, this is Darren, but and I just started jotting down some of the things that you were sharing right there. I think oftentimes we get stuck kind of in these two different areas in leadership, and I'll maybe air quote that leadership because the when we stop looking at it as an infinite game, maybe that's where the person falls to just kind of being that manager as opposed to the person who's really inspiring and driving and bringing people to that next level. So thank you for really like even giving me more things to think about. I'm probably going to write a blog post about infinite leadership. I mean, just based on what you just shared with me, man, that was awesome.
You know, I'm deeply appreciative of this. If you're watching the video, you'll see me like sometimes I'll just like lean back and smile. I'm like, oh, y'all got this in such a great way. You know, Ron, there's a couple things you said that actually struck me. And one of them is I'll probably come back to it in different ways. We'll see how things go. The first one I'm just going to point out because I think that for any like this happens for outliers, and I want to make sure we bring in the space. You said, is Ross Nussbaum the person who can solve this problem once and for all? And that question, in and of itself, is like I'm getting goosebumps all down the right side of my body. I'm not even you, you know, but I'm like, I just think like the power in that question is immense. And I want to make sure I'm slowing down on this outliers. This is coming to you here, because I often hear people ask the who am I to do this? That's the question. Who am I? What if someone asks me, who am I to do it? Some version of imposter syndrome, some version of this. But you ask the question like a fundamentally different way. You ask the question in a more powerful way. Oh, is this mine? Is this mine to go fix? Am I the person who can go and fix that? And I just think like, what if every time we ask ourselves, who am I to do this? Or we're afraid of that, like it's actually an invitation to transmute it into that level of a powerful question. Before I go on this here, like Ron, is there anything you want to say to that? Darren, anything that comes to you on this?
Yeah, Ron here. Your listener, everybody that's listening right now, you've been there, you've done a lot. It's not about our resumes, it's more about where we're going. And just like you just said, how we frame, I call them conversations in the mirror. I have a lot of them. The conversations with yourself, how we frame, how we talk to ourselves really matters. And that's why I use like when I said that, can I go do like, I'm not putting it as an if and but or whatever. I'm just looking at it realistically. Can I go do this? If I committed my time to this, could I create this outcome? Not, well, there's all these variables. There's variables with everything we do. But if you really applied yourself, could you create this outcome? Can you? That is the question that we have to ask ourselves, especially as we advance and we become more mature in our leadership, because it doesn't come down to resources, ability, anything like that. It comes down to, can you go do it? Is your time that you invest in this something that you can create this outcome? Now, with Builder Comms, I felt yes. I felt yes, I am the one because I'm the one willing to go do it. And no one, like people don't want to. I thrive in those environments. Throw me in and let me just go grind it out and get to the outcome, and everybody else just dies along the way. That is what ends up happening. And you have to be able to answer that question for yourself. And if the answer is no, the answer is no. But you have to be able to have that conversation with yourself and talk to yourself in a way that is not like, no, I don't want to say a joke, but like sometimes how people talk to themselves is a joke. You won't call your own crap. You won't have the actual conversations or ask yourself the questions that you need to ask yourself to go to the next level.
I I love that you just said this is Darren again. I love that you just said that there right at the end, Ron, because that was something that I was thinking about too. It's very much about how you choose to take your mindset. Niiamah, you talked about it kind of leading into that follow-up question for Ron, but so often people will look at something like, whatever the problem is from a perspective of that imposter or, no, I probably can't do that. Where what I hear Ron saying and people listen carefully, rewind and listen to what Ron just said. If you frame correctly in your mind, just an honest question, not a I'm doubting my abilities, just simply, am I the one to go do this? Man, that mindset right there is how you level up in the things that you're doing.
I'm just gonna
Well,
even just say like a quick. Go ahead, Ron. Let me put this like here. Outliers. Pause. ask yourself that question. There's like, let's make this real, apply it now, and then come back and finish the rest of this. Ron, let's go. What you got?
Yeah. So Ron here, you know, entrepreneurs, we like to live in hypotheticals. We get in our mind in hypotheticals. Here's what you have to understand. Chances are you've been there. You've dealt with worse. It's going to suck, but you can get through it. And we can't, when we're in our mind, we can't live in these hypotheticals. We have to have clarity. As leaders, as business owners, you have to have clarity with yourself. It all starts with yourself and in the mirror. I spend a lot of time in the mirror, as you can probably tell from the how I frame all of this stuff. But I that's why I tell people to go. Because if you cannot have the conversation with yourself, if you do not have clarity with yourself, how are you ever going to go do it with anybody else? How are you going to lead a team if you can't even have that conversation with yourself? And that is why we have to get out of hypotheticals or I think or could this be possible, and just ask yourself the questions, and they're not even hard questions. Everybody will be like, oh, you got to have this hard conversation and ask yourself the hard questions. And that's not even the truth. These are just honest questions that if you can't answer, you can't go to the next level as being a leader and a business owner, an employee, whatever you are currently doing. If you can't just have real conversations with yourself, that you're capped right there. That's where you're at.
This is fun. Is the thing. This is fun, and there's just a lot of like small things in this element. Just even the element of asking yourself, "Am I willing? Am I the one who's willing to go do it?" Right? There's just like I'm like, what if that was all it took? Like just the willingness to get in. Not like can I? It's like I'll stay with it all the way through. So there's another thing that I want to bring in here, which is Darrin, I'm glad you're here because you brought in leadership, right? And I think that I'm trying to find my footing right now as in these conversations where leadership it's always been my North Star. And now I'm finding myself more in business. And like I haven't shared this with you, but the movement of Outliers Edge is to make sure everyone knows they belong. Everyone already belongs, but like they know they belong. I try and go with entrepreneurs because I'm like, y'all have chosen to go out into the world and create something that wasn't there before, right? And so what's coming to me right now is like you've actually hit on a bit of a stick-in point for me. And so, like Ron, you said, I used to play that game being, I think, the game of leadership more than a lot more than I am right now, right? Even though you're building builder cons right now. And so I'm actually really curious about like how you might take the difference between building something, even building it with others, compared to leading or leadership. Let me put it that way: leadership and that. I think you're always leading, but there's something in there that on a personal level, I'm trying to understand the distinction that took place when I say I work with business leaders and business owners. I'm like, but why aren't they just the same? What changes? What shifts in there? I would love to hear any of the distinctions that y'all have in there in terms of either when you're working with them or when you have one hat on versus the other.
Yeah. Well, I think first and foremost, you have to be really clear and have just a really strong definition of what leadership really is. And I know it's very cliche, but leadership isn't necessarily about a title. You don't have to be sitting in the C-suite to be a leader. And while Ron says he's not playing that game as much as he has previously, I'd love to know, Ron, what it looked like previously, because it sounds to me like you are leading in so many different ways, leading by creating a new industry, leading by, forming a team, leading by solving a problem that needs to be solved that you identified. To me, that's really what leadership is. It isn't necessarily about a title on your door or what's on your business card or any of that other stuff. And I think in the entrepreneurial space, a lot of times, especially like myself. I mean, I'm basically a solopreneur. Our company, Road to Awesome, it's myself and my wife, and we have two branches. We have my speaking and coaching and that, and we own a small publishing company, and that's what my wife does, all under the same flag, Road to Awesome. We maybe don't necessarily think of ourselves as leaders because there's just two of us in this business. But what we're doing is we're carving our own unique space that into that entrepreneurial world, which to me is leadership. And so often, I think so many people, and I'll take this back to my original space of education. I have a really, really good friend. His name's Dr. Frank Redneski. He did some research on a book he released recently, and he spoke to over 10,000 students between the ages of 10 and 22. He teaches at a university now. And he found that over 95% of kids associate leadership with some title: the best in the class, the class president, the teacher's pet, the whatever. But even more alarming, 90% of the teachers of those kids also think of leaders as a specific title: department head, principal, CEO, whatever that might be. I think the number one thing is we have to look at leadership differently and understand that just because we don't have a specific title doesn't mean we aren't leading in the space that we are. If we're crafting something new, if we're creating something, if we're carving our own space, we're leading. We just may not know who it is that's following us. So I mean that's how I would look at that. I don't know if that solves or even confounds more your thinking, Niiamah. I'm not sure, but I think having that clear definition of what the heck leadership really is what's really super important.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
Ron
appreciate it,
here.
Ron. Yeah, please go with
So,
it. Go with it.
the reason I said that's not a game that I play as much as I used to is because for a long time, I spent a lot of time developing my leadership skills. Everything I had, from books, comp, whatever. How does Ron Nussbaum become the best leader he possibly can? Right now, I know my leadership skill set is at a point that would get me to where I want to go. I don't have to necessarily be playing that game because I don't feel, I just have to keep that muscle active. I don't have to continue to grow it currently. So that is why I'm not actively playing that game. It's a skill set that would never go away as long as you keep muscle, as long as you keep working that muscle. It's just like going to the gym. You have to continue to keep what you already have. But once you reach to a point where you know, when you look at everything around and you can say, I have the skill set and the ability to get where I need to go, and then if I need to revisit this, I can. So that is why I'm not actively playing the infinite leadership game, because for where my goals are and where we're headed, I know I've developed that skill set enough. I just have to make sure it don't go away. And uh, to the point that brought all of this up, the question of about can I go do this? Is that all it takes? It literally is. If you have a clear conversation with yourself with no BS and you are dead set, that is all it takes. Is it takes that decision. Now there's a lot of work, there's a lot of action, there's a lot of things that have to happen, but as long as you understand it in your mind that this is what's happening, that is the most critical part to getting to where you need to go.
So I'm gonna, this is fun. Thank you all, because like, sometimes I come in here, I'm like, oh, I'm the host. I should be in a certain place and all this. I'm like, I have to get real. Like, if we're gonna have a real conversation, let's be real about it. Do you mind if I share some of what I just got from the two of you on this one here?
Please.
Okay.
Yeah, go
Yeah.
right
So
ahead.
so Darrin, one of the things I got from you when you were speaking was you were talking about like defining leadership, right? And having that clear definition. And two things were running through me. One was like the expanded definition of what leadership is. But the other part is like, what does leadership look like and feel like for me at this stage? Like and to see for myself, like in what ways am I keeping out, like basically in what ways do I need to upgrade my own definition of leadership? It's like this is what I thought it was beforehand, but similar to how like people might think it's like it's about the rank at a certain point, and then you meet a real leader and you're like, oh, that's leadership. It has not, like, it's not title. I'm wondering right now, in what places am I like putting things too narrowly in a bucket, rather than playing on both of them. So that's really striking me right here. Ron, on what you're giving me is like seasons, like where it's like I think that a big part of this, everything I do with Outliers is all about leadership. And like, but right now there's a real season of saying, this is the season to get really good at business because there's an element of being able to fund this mission far more than what like my energy alone can do. Someone here talked earlier about it's not about resources, right? I'm like, well, then it's about like let me make sure that I have the resourcefulness to keep making sure that this mission can keep going, and how do we continue playing it so that it never really gets capped at any certain part beyond just me. And so what I got there was this element of seasons where like there's something inside of me said, oh, the reason that you're talking business right now is because this is a season of business. And there'll be a time where one way or the other, and your leadership skills are at a place where you don't like you could keep learning the leadership, but if the business isn't coming along, then that's not like you can't really lead. You can only lead up into a certain point. But now, like, cause like what's really flowing through, I'm like, oh, it occurred to me. I'm like, oh, I really want to have a company behind this. I want to like employ others. Like I don't want to talk about. I want to just lead them and give them an experience of what it's like to have that in their world. And so you're helping. There is something that is falling into place around here. And there was a bit of like a cognitive, and I say cognitive, but like if you look at the video, you'll see me like with my hand right over my heart. There's something right here that has been a bit disconnected in some way, and I just want to just let you know, like in real time, that like what you're doing is serving, and who you've been and what you're sharing is really serving because it's getting me to feel and think differently, like more deeply than I have in the past. So thank you. Yeah.
Good to go.
Um,
Ron here. That me on
yeah.
titers. So I host a podcast. And I don't even I titers are the biggest load of crap. I'm constantly trying to figure out how I detitleize myself and just whatever. But I call myself a facilitator on the podcast now because that's literally what I'm doing. I ain't hosting anything. I'm facilitating conversations. Like how we look at stuff is completely backwards because we put these figurative things on it of I am this or this is the title, so I have to be this. But what it really is what do you do? Like a lot of times I call myself the director of builder comms because I feel like I do more directing, like I control the future of this. I am directing where we're going. I'm not like necessarily CEOing. I am the founder, but isn't that a past tense? Like I don't understand why we use that so much because like once the company's founded, didn't that happen in the past? How is that even a title? Like what are you doing? What are you currently driving? Like that's the title. If you can start to call yourself something around that, so then in your mind you're thinking, yes, this is what I'm doing. Like if I look at myself as I am the director of Builder Comms, I understand every day I show up and I direct the vision of this company. I direct what is happening. I direct the outcomes that we're creating instead of like, oh, I'm the CEO. I have to do all this other stuff, which you have to do anyhow. But like you get distracted on the title, which distracts you from your mission that you're trying to accomplish. So when I'm Ron Nussbaum in my office, I am the director of Builder Comms. Now, people don't understand that when you say that public facing, like they're like, what does that even mean? But in my mind, I have clarity on that with myself. So that's how I operate.
I love that you said that, Ron. And I'm going to tell you why that resonates so strongly with me. Um, we're 4 years full time now here with Road to Awesome. It's primarily just the two of us. And I have struggled with what is the right title for me. Um, I sign certain things as president of Road to Awesome because that's what our attorney requires me to do. But most of the time I identify as the innovator at Road to Awesome. Like that's who I am. I am trying to innovate and find creative and new solutions and so many different things. And um, I'm also a podcast host. And I mean, I guess I do call myself a host, but I think it's just because that's like a default term. I really like the term facilitator. I think that's actually really good. I might try that out a little bit. But I agree with everything you're saying. I think it's really super powerful that sometimes we get so hung up on titles and, almost like, and I get it. I know why, that whole, well, it's a status thing or it's a that or, whatever. I mean, probably the first year that after I earned my doctorate degree, it was, oh, I'm Dr. Darrin Peppard. Hell, now I never talk about that, so what? Also, that's a past tense thing. I did that years ago, right? Um, we could chase the whole titles thing for a long time, but I love that you brought that up because again, for me, that was something that hit home. I struggle with what really is my title here at Road to Awesome. I'm just the dude who's innovating, and so I like how you talk about that too.
Yeah, Ron, I think we all struggle with it. It's why we chase titles that are predetermined. And the host thing is you can get there. It's hard. I actually messed it up today on a recording where I said I'm the host and I had to be, oh, I'm backtracking. I'm actually the facilitator. And because it gets so ingrained in us. And then that ingrainment is what doesn't allow us to freely like I love the outliers thing and like what that because I that is me. Like I believe like you don't judge like at the end of the day, the bank account is really what matters. It's not all these successes that we put out in the word and they all look good and everything's amazing. It's the bank account. Like pure honesty, like that's what we're all here trying to grow. It's why we grow businesses, it's why we build things. I know when I crossed the bridge and I fixed communication in the construction industry, my family would never worry about the bank account ever again. Not just me, my family. It's that big of a thing. But what we do is we put all this other stuff on here and these titles that distract us from what we're even trying to do. Because a lot of times I'll bring it back to the clarity with ourselves. We don't even have that. We don't have clarity with ourselves. So we're looking for distractions that then we can chase that distraction instead of actually chasing the things that will move your business forward, that will move your life forward. And a lot of times it's because those things are hard. I get up and go to the gym every day, me and my wife, and it's hard. I don't want to go every day. But I can't let the distractions of the day of I didn't sleep well last night or I don't feel 100% or I'll just take a day off. You can't let those distractions keep you out of the gym. The same thing as you can't let the day-to-day distractions keep you out of actually chasing the mission and the vision and the dreams of what your business was set out to do to begin with.
This is great. This is like, so we're going to start wrapping up here, but I have to call in something which was really like, it was very challenging to me here, and it was in a good way. And Ron, it was when you just brought up like, at the end of the day, the game is the bank account, right? And it was really like usually like there was other things you said where I was getting like energetic hits. I'm like, yes, yes, yes. And on that one, like my like I received that as a fairly like neutral. I was like, that was the first one. I was like, you know. And at the same time, I said part of the reason why I'm like this season is about business is because it's like it's about having the funds to continue doing this. The I realized that I was building a six-figure coaching practice, and I was like, I'm doing the stuff that's like I'm going to keep building a six-figure coaching practice, and that's it. Like, and afterwards, I can't sell it. I can't do anything. Like, it is what I have. I'm like, I would have a lifestyle, but I actually, it turns out I like solving really like problems, and I like working, and I like helping people. And so recently, I was like, oh, it's going to be it's an eight-finger company. And recently, then that evolved. I'm like, oh, it's multi-generational nine-figure. I have no clue how to do it, but it's just the expansiveness of being able of putting yourself in that space. So I like this because a lot of us outliers out here, we're very impact driven, mission driven people. And I think that like it was really important to me that like that energetic hit didn't come when you said it was about the bank account. Because I think like that is part of why I bring the focus into business. I bring on entrepreneurs. I bring people who have the business here because I'm like, your impact right now might be limited by the fact that your bank account isn't growing. And the potential that we have to go and get at, like, Ron, it's cool. Like, you're like, I've bought and sold businesses, I've done this beforehand. I'm like, oh yeah, you put yourself in a position where, like, when an idea like builder comms comes up to you, you're like, I actually can do this. I have the resource, I have the experience, I have all these things, and I could make this happen because you put yourself in there. And I want to kind of bring some, I want to give it some space, and I'll take like one or two more comments on that, and then we'll end for today. But I want to bring in the space of finances, of funding, of money into this conversation of impact. I say impact, identity, and income. Like, those are the three things that make up the outlier game that I play. And I want to bring in the income part of it because I just think that, like, it without it, our actual the infinite game becomes far more finite. You
Mm-hmm.
know.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I think just something that you said there, put together with what Ron was talking about. What's been playing in my mind with that is something that my business coach has said to me several times. And it started as a question, and now it's just become more of a direct statement. But initially, the question was, are you trying to build a cool job for yourself, or are you trying to build a business? Because there's a difference between the two. And I think so often, and Niiamah, because you said, hey, am I building a six-figure coaching business, or am I, building, a 8, 9 figure, multi-generational type of thing. Ron talked about, if BuilderCon does exactly what he believes it's going to, nobody's going to worry about the bank account in his family. To me, that's the big piece for us here too at Road Awesome is at first it was, yeah, we're building a really cool speaking and a really cool coaching business. We've got a cool publishing company, but I mean, what it came down to at first was my wife and I just created cool jobs for ourselves. Now, over this last couple of years in particular, it's really been about how do we think long term? How do we develop this? How do we lean into not just solving problems, but really planning long term for how we are building something that leaves a lasting legacy, leaves that financial impact, and it isn't just a cool job. It is a cool job. I'm not gonna deny that. It's a really cool job, but that's not what it's about anymore for me. And I'm so grateful that my coach asked me that question and now just reminds me periodically, remember, you're not just building a cool job for yourself. So I think that connects to what you were saying there, but that's kind of what really spoke to me. And I think that's something that maybe separates the average entrepreneur from a true outlier is instead of building a cool job, I'm building a legacy.
Well, Ron here, and you know why you felt neutral about that is because we're pre-programmed anytime anybody talks about money or their bank accounts or their income to feel neutral or negative. It's not it. We're not programmed to be excited about it. But like you just said, money is literally what keeps everything up and going. I have poured everything into Builder Comms. We are bootstrapped, no VC money, no nothing. Software company, completely out of the ordinary. I don't do what Silicon Valley does. I would do what's best for my customers because at the end of the day, like I said, I know if I do that and I don't follow some not phony, but like just some playbook that has been designed on how you should operate and run a software company, because that is what people with a lot of money to burn do. I would get to my end outcome without doing that, without having the ability to make decisions. That's one of the reasons we've never raised money, is because I want to be able to make the decisions that I know are best for my customers, not financially backed decisions where I am literally making decisions based off of money. Like I said, I poured everything into this and creating this outcome. And we shouldn't be neutral when we're talking about our livelihoods, our legacy, our bank accounts, all that, because that right there is a direct representation on the impact that you had. So when you made the comment about the funding to create the impact, but maybe I can't create the impact. You're not creating enough impact yet to create the funding to actually create the impact you want to create. And that's a vicious cycle that you live in, because the impact continues to become bigger. At BuilderComs, it continues to become bigger, and all we do is we just keep growing past the like you think you're at this break-even profitable point, and the next thing, what do? The vision grows, something changes, you release a new feature, a new product, and all of a sudden you're back at that even toe or you're behind, because that impact hasn't caught up with the bank account yet, because you had to take that bank account and invest it in what the future of that impact looks like. And that's why it's a vicious cycle. And eventually you get to the point where the impact is so big that you can't invest anymore in it, and all that happens is that bank account grows.
Ron, I'm grateful for both of you actually in this conversation. This is one of those where like it's like, oh, this is the conversation I've been waiting to have. I just didn't know how to I didn't know how to have it. I didn't know who to have it with. But there's something in the even just saying like it starts with the impact and but it's fueled by and just knowing that this isn't a game you can get right or wrong. This is where the infinite game comes in, right? It's like playing this element here where it's like one begets the next. It's like your impact is just going to keep growing until you get it to be so big that you're just like, there's only one thing to do now, just grow the bank account. I'm thoroughly appreciative of both of you here. Outliers there's been an intensely amazing conversation. My ask is that you go and you share this out with your world. This is like a direct ask, like let the people of your world know that this conversation took place. And then I want you to think about one person in your world in particular. We call it the one person, one conversation at a time initiative. But like find one person in your world who's sitting there, who's like thinking about these same things, and send them this message with intention. Say, I heard this conversation today and I thought of you. Take a listen. There's something in my mind that just says like if we get that going, like this is going to be able to keep reaching people 5, 10, 15 years down the line, because the right message is going to reach the right person at the right time. Right. And if you're the person that's listening to this right now, like, and it came to you, like, please pay it forward and continue to share this on with the next person who needs to hear it. All right. So the way we're going to wrap up, Darrin and Ron, the way we wrap up is we do two things. We share with outliers the best way for them to deepen the journey with you, to continue the journey with you. And then the second thing is every conversation we have is for a reason. And so it should be transformational. It should be, you should grow as a result of it. So if you don't mind, share an insight that you got as a result of being here today. And if no insight came, you can just say like, oh, nothing comes up on that. That's totally fine. But we can share an insight and the way that people can go deeper down the journey with you. Darrin, before we start, I started out with Ron on a question, so I'm going to start off with you here. Do you mind letting us know how we can go deeper down and what's an insight you
Yeah,
got
of
from
course.
today?
Yeah, of course. So a handful of ways to go a little deeper with the conversation with me. First and foremost is our podcast, the Leaning into Leadership podcast, available everywhere. It drops every single Sunday. We're at about episode 250 at this point. So definitely check that out. Um, Two websites. Roadtoawesome.net is our primary website. My new website, darrinpeppard.com, will launch in early October. So go and check both of those out. The new website will also include a blog that I'll be sharing leadership insights and so forth. And then the social media, I am Darrin M. Peppard on literally every platform. So by all means, come and find me there and let's get connected. You can also email me, Darrin at roadtoawesome.net. That's another easy way to get in touch with me. Do you want me to share my insight now, or are we looping
Yes,
back on that one?
please. Let's do
Okay,
it.
so I'm going to tell you, this has been a super insightful conversation, and I really, really appreciate so much being a part of this. The big one that stands out to me is just everything around the infinite game. I love that Ron opened with that, And it's just really continuing to play in my mind, just, the infinite games that we are playing, not just as entrepreneurs, but as husbands, as fathers, and so forth. And so, um, just really thinking about that the infinite games is going to be my big takeaway.
Thank you so much, Darrin. Ron, how about you?
Yeah, super easy. Ron Nussbaum on LinkedIn. You can get to all my stuff through there. It's super easy. We can connect there. Best place to do it. And my biggest aha moment takeaway from today is maybe I need to be looking more into the leadership game. Like I know I put that on pause, but I believe the universe is never wrong. It's just up to us to take the action. There's a reason why this conversation was had, and that Darrin asked me that question today about that. So that is something that I am going to go back and talk to myself in the mirror on is, do I need to be playing this leadership game right now? And am I not in a place where I do need to have it paused? So thank you for your time. Both of you guys have been great. This has been a fantastic
Yeah,
conversation.
Same here.
yeah,
Same here.
likewise.
Outliers, until the next time we talk, be you on purpose. Journey on.